This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 650, How to Actually Execute Your To-Do List, or Why Writing It Down Doesn't Actually Get It Done, Part 1 by Babauta of Zen Habits, and I'm Justin Malik, your very own personal narrator. Welcome to the podcast where blogs are read to you for free, kind of like an audiobook, and this is with permission from the authors, today's author being Babauta of the super popular Zen Habits. And this post is a bit long, so I'll read the first half today, and then the rest tomorrow. And before we get into it, thank you to Talkspace for sponsoring this episode. Talkspace is an online therapy company that makes therapy affordable, confidential, and convenient, and they let you choose from over 1,500 licensed therapists. For a special offer just for you, come by Talkspace.com/old. That's Talkspace.com/OLD. Now let's get right to it as we optimize your life. How to Actually Execute Your To-Do List, or Why Writing It Down Doesn't Actually Get It Done, Part 1 by Babauta of Zen Habits, and. Have you gotten good at organizing your tasks in a to-do list, but have trouble actually executing them? You're not alone. Getting things on your to-do list actually done is difficult because it's really a collection of habits that most people don't think about. Today, we'll look at addressing those issues that stop you from doing things and the habits needed to overcome those issues. This post was prompted when reader BJ Thunderstone recently asked a great question. Quote, "A lot of productivity systems such as Getting Things Done by David Allen or Do It Tomorrow by Mark Forster concern themselves with writing lists of things to do. The skill is easy to learn, but what if the problem isn't making lists, but executing your plan? What if you write, get X, Y, and Z done, and then you can't make yourself do any of these things? I think that many people have a problem not with making to-do lists, but with executing what is written on these lists," unquote. BJ went on to list some of the reasons he and others have a problem getting things done. Let's address them one by one. Quote, "I feel resistance when starting work on something," unquote. First of all, it's good to analyze your resistance, which is something we don't do often. Why don't you want to start on something? Identifying the problem can help lead to the solution. Having said that, there are a couple of suggestions that could help. Number 1, tiny chunk. Tell yourself you only have to do 5 minutes of work on it. That small amount of work is less intimidating. Number 2, just start. Once you get going, it's much easier to keep going. So tell yourself that all you have to do is start. I like to compare this to my philosophy of running. Instead of worrying about having to do the whole run, I tell myself that I just have to lace up my shoes and get out the door. After that, it's really easy. Do the same thing with any task. Just fire up your program and do the first few actions, i.e. start typing. It gets easier after that point. Number 3, reward yourself. Don't let yourself check email or whatever reward works for you, something that you need to do every day, until you do at least 10 minutes or 15 or 20, it doesn't matter, on the task. Set a timer. Once your 10 minutes is up, set another timer for 5 minutes and do email, then repeat. Number 4, get excited about it. This is actually a tip that helps with any of these points. If you're excited about doing something, you will not hesitate to do it. For example, I loved this topic suggestion and I was excited about writing it. As soon as I had the chance, I sat down to write it and only took one break. But how do you get excited about a task? Try to find something exciting about it. Will it bring you revenue? What can you do with that revenue? Will it bring you new clients, new opportunities, new recognition? If you can't find anything exciting about a task, consider whether it's really important or not. And if not, find a way to not do it. Sometimes eliminating or delegating or delaying the task is the best option. Quote, "I'm terrified of certain tasks or of working on certain projects," unquote. There are usually a few reasons those tasks or projects terrify you. Number 1, they are too intimidating in size or scope. To combat this, break it down into tinier chunks. Actually, just the first tiny chunk, as David Allen tells us to do in GTD. It's intimidating to do a task like create a report on X or make a yearly plan for Z. But if you just need to do the first physical action, which might be call Frank for figures on X, or make a list of 10 things we should accomplish this year, it's much easier to tackle and less intimidating. Number 2, you don't really know how to do it. If you haven't done something a million times before, it is unfamiliar and unknown to you, and we are all terrified of that. The solution? First, get more information. Learn as much as you can about it. That might require some research on the internet, or talking to someone who's done it before, or reading a book, or taking a class. Whatever you need to do, make the unknown become the known. Second, practice it as much as possible. Once you've learned how to do something, you need to practice it to become good at it. Don't practice the whole thing. Practice individual skills required to do a task or project one at a time until you're good at those skills. Once you've mastered them, it will no longer be terrifying. Number 3, you are focusing on negative aspects. You might be focusing on how hard something is or on all the obstacles. Try looking at the positive aspects instead. Focus on what a great opportunity this project represents, an opportunity to learn, to get better at something, to make more money, to work on a relationship, to gain some long-term recognition, to improve your advancement opportunities. This is similar to the get excited about it item in the previous section. If you look at the opportunities, not the problems, you'll be less terrified and more likely to want to do it. Quote, I start, but I get distracted and never finish, unquote. If you start, you've already made a big step towards finishing. Now, you just need to work on the distractions. To be continued. You just listened to part 1 of the post titled, How to Actually Execute Your To-Do List, or Why Writing It Down Doesn't Actually Get It Done, by Babauta of Zen Habits, and&nbsp. And big thanks again to my sponsor for today's episode, Talkspace. We all need to take better care of ourselves, including me, and our mental health is no exception. That's why today's sponsor, Talkspace, the online therapy company, makes it easy to connect with an experienced, licensed therapist that you pick based on your preferences, and for a fraction of the price of traditional therapy. You can send your therapist video messages, audio, and even text, or do a live video chat. Talkspace therapists are fully licensed and go through a rigorous screening process in addition to thousands of hours of supervised professional training. To match with your perfect therapist, head on over to Talkspace.com/old. And as a special offer for our listeners, you can use the code OLD to get $30 off your first month, all while showing support for this podcast. That's OLD and Talkspace.com/OLD. Talkspace, therapy for how we live today. And that'll do it for the Thursday show. I'll see you in the Friday show tomorrow, where we'll finish up this post and where your optimal life awaits.
Hey, this is Dan from the Optimal Finance Daily podcast, which is a lot like this show, except more focused on personal finance. Justin handpicks the best posts he can find from blogs and authors like Ramit Sethi, Mr. Money Mustache, and more, and I read them to you 5 days a week. So if you enjoy this podcast, come on over and subscribe to Optimal Finance Daily too. And together, we'll optimize your financial life.
You've been listening to Optimal Living Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode, and head to oldpodcast.com. That's OLDpodcast.com for a free gift, as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.